Hello and welcome to Chez, Zasaa, and today we have a Zasaa Unzipped. And what that means is that we're going to talk about something that some people will consider to be a bit controversial, but that's okay. We're going to talk about it and it's just our opinions. Now, I've got the perfect person for an Unzipped. You know, I have to be very careful about who I choose for an Unzipped because I need someone who's going to be honest, open, and is going to literally unzip. And here she is. It's my girl, Atiti. Hello, Atiti.
Hello.
And welcome to Chez Zasaa. This is your first time.
It is. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I'm actually a little bit scared, but I'm excited. Okay, today's topic. Does tradition impede our destiny?
Right. Does tradition impede our destiny? To be honest with you, and when we say our destiny, you're talking about like Nigerian tradition?
Yes, I think we have to. So yes, we're both
Let's
Nigerian.
qualify,
We're both Nigerian.
yeah.
So we're talking about Nigerian tradition. That's the one we can talk to. That's the one we know.
Yeah.
I think it's probably true of a lot of African tradition, but let's
Yeah.
just stick to Nigerian tradition. So Nigerian tradition, does it impede? Does it stop us from? What do you think? Okay, let's even start at the beginning. You asked me a question, and you said, "What is tradition to you?"
Yeah.
Should I answer that question?
Please. Please.
I think that tradition is what they tell you to do. Basically, what you're told to do. It's what. That's how I can. I'm sure there's a better way of defining it, but for me, that's what it is.
There probably is, but to be honest with you, I think that what you said resonates with a lot of people. It's what you've been told you have to do. It's what you've been told has always been done. It's what you've been told. In fact, it's almost like you don't have an option.
Yeah.
And only after you've exercised what is supposed to be done, the traditional way, the way it's done, can you then express your own choice and option to do,
So you've just kind of almost answered the question in that statement because you said only after you've done the traditional stuff can you then express your own self. So you're implying that tradition does impede.
I think to a degree it does. And the reason I say that is in my very short journey here on Earth, because there's no way I'm going to give away my age, but in my very short journey here on Earth, I've come across loads of people who are phenomenally talented in a wide range of things. Some of them, I've found them in typical classic Nigerian professions. And I say that because it's a joke, it's a meme, it's on Instagram, when you have all these accounts where Nigerian children, I'd say kidults, are having a go and teasing their parents. It's always, go and read your book. You have to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, accountant, And so when I come across people who have towed the line and gone into a lot of those professions, and you then sit and listen to them, or you meet them and you discover that they have, like, I know one, for instance, who is a phenomenally talented professional, and I'm positive he was a child prodigy. He's one of the best bass players I can think of. And I'm just wondering that if he had pursued music, because, you have these things that you do that are your careers, and then you have the things you do that give you release. I'm not sure if it was ever an option,
But okay, so let's even break down this tradition thing, because you're talking about it in terms of careers and, in terms of what the talents we have that maybe we don't pursue because we're following a certain, but it cuts across everything, doesn't it? Because it's
Absolutely.
even down to things like what you can wear, how you can speak. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
like down to everything. So I feel, does tradition impede our destiny? I think you're right in going to the one about talents because of destiny, because of the question.
Absolutely.
Destiny. But I do think that sometimes I don't even believe that the people that are imposing the tradition on you necessarily agree with the tradition, but because of what others will say. You know that thing of, let it not be that my child didn't go to university.
Yes.
That sort of thing. So there's like the peer pressure of other people. Because I sometimes feel like it takes let's talk as parents now, it takes a very strong parent
Yes.
to allow their children to do things that go against tradition.
Well,
because of what their friends will say.
Yes, but I had to learn to listen to my children, and that was not an easy thing.
That's not a traditional thing.
No, it's not a traditional thing, and it's not an easy thing to do when you believe you can see much further than they can, because obviously you've had all sorts of life experience. But I had to learn to listen and pay attention to what they were saying and understand that a lot of our parents have lived vicariously through us and forced us into paths and places and spaces that we don't particularly want to occupy, but for the sake of peace, for the sake of peace, we just do it. But in trying to pay attention and listen to my children, and one of them, I can remember one of them very clearly told me, if it's not going to work, I want it to be my mistake.
Wow.
And he said, you may not realize this. I understand what you're trying to say that you want me to do, but you may not realize that what I want to do is time limited. If I don't get into it whilst I can get into it at this point and space in time, I may miss the opportunity. Typical Nigerian mother, what are you talking about?
Get your degree, yes.
Your book. Read your book. This thing you are saying, do it after.
Yeah.
Priorities. Whose priorities?
Yeah.
Tradition's priorities? Like you said, not wanting to sit in front of people when they're talking about, my child went here, my child. You know something? I really don't care about that. I really don't care. What I want is healthy, happy, fulfilled children.
Yeah, but you see, I think I'm not saying that other parents don't want healthy, happy, fulfilled children, but I think you're an exception to the rule in the sense that that's why I said it takes a strong parent to stand up against what tradition has, the norm. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I'm not saying that parents that don't do it, because I feel like we're almost forced to believe that, like you said, that there's no option, that is the only way, that this is what you have to do. So for somebody to actually turn around and think about it for themselves and say, actually, no, there are other ways, there's a better way, you're going to come up against, because even your peers are going to be like, but you let him finish his education first before he goes and does his football. Let him, those type of things.
Sure.
So you have to have some amount of strength, I think, to be able to stand up against that. But hopefully we're a different generation now.
I believe we are.
Hopefully.
I believe we are. And I believe that our children have taught us to be not only different, but better.
Yeah, amen.
Better at paying attention to what they would like to do, their own desires, understanding the world we live in.
Yeah.
I can remember that there was a time one of my children, I unfortunately stopped him from playing football until I said, the film Coach Carter?
Yes.
I did Coach Carter in my house. I said, you're not playing that football. My friend, go and read your book. When you've passed this, when you've done that, I just thought, this football thing. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
And then when he sat me down and explained to me that you're not getting it, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And at the point in time when I got that, I felt so much pain and regret
for not
having allowed him to be. And then I had to question, why didn't I? And then I paid attention to the answer, which is because that's not how we do it. And then I'm asking myself, who is we?
But there's this email, I don't know if you ever got it. I got it years ago, and it's still going around, but It's this email I got, and it was about a girl whose mother was cooking fish. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
No.
So her mother was cooking fish, and basically the girl was watching, and the mother cut off the head and cut off the tail and cooked the fish. And so the girl asked her mom, why did you cut off the head and the tail? And she said, because that's how we do it, And it was grandma, that's how grandma taught me. So anyway, the girl saw grandma, why'd you cut off the head and the tail? She said, that's how her grandma did it. And luckily, the great-grandma was still alive. When they went to the great-grandma, why'd you do it? She said, my pot was too small. And so, it's that sort of thing where you're doing something, you don't understand why you are doing it. She did it for practical reasons. My fish cannot fit into the thing that I have. Yeah. But her daughter saw it and thought that's how you cook the fish.
Yeah.
That was daughter now. So it was now until the granddaughter, great-granddaughter, now questioned it. They would have continued cooking the fish like that because that's, so it's almost like that's the way it's done. That's how we do it. And I remember when I was getting married, traditionally because I don't know enough of the tradition. And I remember I had gone to a friend's traditional wedding and I'd seen them doing stuff that I thought, what? So when it was time for mine, I said to my mother-in-law, I was like, Mom, please just bring fruits and cake because all these other things that they brought, and to be fair, it was two different cultures, but I didn't think that. I just thought what I had seen at the other culture, I was like, I don't want all this is like the way no, I just don't want this. So I said to my mother-in-law, I was like, please just bring the fruit. She said, won't I bring, you know what I mean? Because obviously that's what you do. So I said, if you can explain to me what they're for and everything. And so she said to me, and luckily she's a Christian. I mean, she said to me, okay, let her pray about it. And then she came out, she said, I will just bring fruits. And because in the end, it's something that you just do because it's done. But why are you doing it? Why was it done? And I think we never take time to actually find out what's behind it. So sometimes it may make sense.
Yes, I agree. I mean, so like a classic example is, I'm just talking about something traditional and not so much about whether it's impeding.
Yeah.
I'm just, digressing because of what you said. When we do naming ceremonies, you have little plates of this, that, and the other.
Exactly.
So you have salt, sugar, honey, bitter leaf, bitter cola, alligator pepper, oil, water. Now, I had to learn that that's how traditionally we name our children. I was I'm a sociologist. That's my discipline. I love learning it. So I was curious, and I had to learn that actually there was a very relevant meaning behind those actions. So where I can, probably what I would say is, as with an inquiring mind, where there is meaning that is relevant and there is significant importance in those actions, because the words that are said as you name your child with those things are prophetic things we speak into the life of our children. So in that regard, that may be a traditional practice, but that works for me.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly, yeah.
So I wouldn't not want to do something like that. Now, when we've done all these amazing prophetic namings into the life of our child, and then the child now grows, and the child feels within them a stirring to do something, we're the same people that will be the first person to say, you see that thing you want to do? No. I will never forget the day, and forgive me for sharing this, sis. My sister told my daddy she wanted to be a policewoman. And my daddy said, very good. That's a fantastic idea, suggestion. But you know what? What I want you to do is you just go and finish your, go and finish your school, finish your university and everything. And that was the last I heard about her wanting to be a policewoman. I think my sister would have been a fantastic policewoman. Yeah. And I think she would have made a significant difference in the whole world of policing back in Nigeria. I think she would have been a valuable contribution. I, on the other hand, I was inspired by something entrepreneurial has been stirring in my loins, and I'm, a natural creative. So I'm always coming up with something. Yeah. And I grew up watching Dynasty.
Dynasty, yeah.
Blown away by the power Blake Carrington exhibited. Didn't understand, but thought he was a powerful guy. Loved all the visuals that I was seeing, Crystal and what's the other one? I've forgotten their names now. She's, the white, wearing, loved all the stuff they used to wear. And I wanted to have my own business, and I wanted to, run my own business. And my sister and I, my dad gave us permission to have like a little kiosk at the end of the drive, right? And we noticed, we got our house up at the time to get us some stuff, and we were selling them. And then I noticed that just over there was somebody else that was selling some stuff, and people, they were always busy. And, we had bread and sardines and, stuff to sell, but they weren't as busy. So I wanted to find out what they were selling over there, and discovered they were selling cigarettes. So I said, well, we need to sell cigarettes
as
too,
well.
because they had a competitive edge.
Yeah.
I wanted, to compete with them in a fair market. So we got that.
You got the cigarettes.
Yeah, we got the guys.
Did your dad know?
He shut us down. But today, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying that if my talent and creativity had been
nurtured at that point, God knows where you would be now.
Blake Carrington, you don't have anything on me. So, I found I did everything I was supposed to do. Go to school, hated school, went to uni, eventually finished, and came out of it. And to be honest with you, I just wanted to have my own business. And, I just wanted to create and make. And I didn't really know what I wanted to create and make. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. The truth of the matter is that I only got into creating and making when I was post 40.
Yeah.
And when I think backwards I think I started having these thoughts about if I had really been nurtured. And my dad was liberal, okay?
Yeah.
So, we really had, I would say, a much less traditional environment. It was pretty liberal, so we were encouraged to, think freely and, explore things. But I still had to toe the line of go to school, get a degree, do this, do it that way, and then you can do this. And so it was post 40 that I then had the privilege of actually beginning to do things in a very different way. And because even when I went into business for myself eventually here in 2000, I was still doing conventional stuff. I hadn't given myself permission to freely express. Yeah. It was through the course of the journey that I started to feel uncomfortable and wanting to do things differently. And now, as you know, I'm a leather artisan. I hand make handbags, shoes, and
gorgeous stuff. She makes gorgeous stuff. Ayato.com. Let me do a plug for you. Ayato.com. You can find her stuff there. But no, you know what? It's so funny because there's a lot of things that you said there, and I think as parents, because obviously the topic is, does tradition impede you? I think we've both answered that it probably does. Right?
Yes, I think it
does.
I
think because we're parents, so how I almost feel like there's a responsibility on us to do things differently.
Absolutely. With
our children. I think you've been very successful with that, to be fair, in terms
of... You need to ask them, but I hope I have.
If I'm comparing it to where we're coming from, there's probably a lot more that we can all do.
Absolutely.
But, but I think there's something to be said about, there's a bit of guidance that we still have to give them. Do you understand what I mean? Because you can say, let's nurture. You don't want. Do you understand what I mean? I don't know what I'm saying, but what I'm saying effectively is, yes, we need to listen to them, but at the same time, can we just let them loose?
I don't think it's a case of letting them loose, because we would never just let them loose, except circumstance created an environment where they were unsupported. So we would never just let them loose. But I think that what we would do is we would let them take more of a significant role and position in decision making and direction. And I think that's what we don't do enough of. I think we are still very,
I'll tell you what I did to my son, my first son. He did French for O-levels and he did well. And, I have been brought up that, you need a language. I mean, in this world, if you can do languages, do languages. So I was like, you must take, French. So actually, this was going to O-levels. Sorry, GCSEs, is that what they call it? So I said to him, since you're doing really well in French, just take French. Now, obviously, by taking French, you know how they have streams. So by taking French, there were certain things he couldn't take because he was taking French. So things that he wanted to do, he couldn't do because I had insisted that he took French. Of course, when we get to A-levels, I'm like, okay, what A-levels do you want to do? He's like, well, pick for me because I don't want to do anything that I'm able to do because you made me do French. And that really hit me because I was like, wow. I did make him do French because I was like, why would you not do a language if you can? But the truth of the matter is that stopped him from doing what he wanted to do. It broke just that one choice closed the doors for the things that he wanted to do. So I learned very hard this. So when it came to the next child, I was like, what do you want to do? Pick, feel free, make it your choice. But of course, there could be consequences to those decisions. And I guess what we have to do is to learn to allow our children. I always say I have to trust that I have brought them up well enough to make the right decisions, and if they don't, to be able to recover from the decisions, because it's about resilience.
How many trees did you fall out of, Tinuka?
I broke every bone.
Well, there you go. But
from the same one tree. It's not many trees, the same one tree.
So there you go. It's the same principle, isn't it? They fall down, but they get up again.
Yeah.
Sometimes the scrapes and, the bruises may be a bit deep, but, once again, we support them through that healing process, and they bounce back. They build resilience, I think, for instance, this terrible lock away, or whatever you call it, lockdown that we had, was an awful thing for our kids. And the whole argument about destiny and tradition, well, a lot of tradition went out of the window. Let's be honest.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And what happened? Yeah? Okay, yes, we inherited a lot of mental health challenges, but that's because instead of seeing doing things differently as a norm, it's always been the exception. We weren't equipped to support people through doing things differently in a different way. And one of my children was doing a particular line of study and got to a point where they decided that, you know what, not doing that. And guess what? I don't know what I want to do. And that has to be okay.
Yes, absolutely.
That has to be okay. Because you can put all sorts of options in front of them, except it speaks to them. So then my question was, okay, but you have to do something.
Yes, exactly.
Right? I don't want to dictate to you what that something is. So you want to earn money, you've got to be able to, do a few things for yourself. So pick something that you can do whilst you're exploring. And he went on a journey. He went on a fascinating journey of discovery, and ended up choosing something that I wouldn't have thought of for him.
But he's happy.
Very happy.
And that's the important
Very happy.
thing.
So he's now navigating his way to being able to do it in a way that will really fulfill him. But once again, I have to be okay with that, because it's not my life, it's his.
Thank you. This is so key. And I think that's actually the bottom line here. That yes, tradition is good. Tradition is not necessarily bad.
No, it isn't.
It's not bad.
It isn't.
But we have to understand that in the end, we can't, it's their lives and they are going to live. We can't, because there's so many of us that did certain degrees and then finished and went back to do other degrees that we wanted to do. Because we did the degree to satisfy our parents, and then we've now gone back. Why are you pulling a face?
We not only did it to satisfy our parents, we did it because we thought we had to, right? We didn't know what else to do, and other things were not an option. Yeah. So I did sociology, did economics, flunked after a few years because I wasn't serious. Then did sociology and anthropology. Then came out and did some carpentry and interior design and soft furnishing. And then came and did some voluntary work and did work in the voluntary community sector. Then set up my own business, and then did training and consulting, and then ended up inventing a board game, and then decided that actually what I've always wanted to do is make shoes. One of my favorite storybooks, The Elves and the Shoemakers, Ladybird book. Oh my gosh. So started making shoes, bags and outerwear. Right now, that's what I'm doing. I don't know for how much longer. I think I like this space, I really do. I'm doing a lot more teaching about it, but I'm doing that because I want to work with people who may still be locked in to tradition, and maybe just a little peek or taste may just inspire them to let go and pursue that thing that's always been calling out within them. You know what? Hello. This is what you want. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
I mean, I think it's so important. I think it's very hard sometimes for some parents. I mean, I have some parent friends that's, your children, you just don't want to see them do wrong or fail or whatever, but really it's part of life. So
I was just going to say.
Oh, that is part of life. Yeah, we have to. I think it's important that they fail.
Yes.
Because they will, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So the sooner they do it and they get used to recovering, the better.
And hey, this thing about peers and what people think, for goodness sake, who gives a damn? I mean, really, who cares what people think?
Yeah, you see, I am 100% with you on that, but the truth is that so many people do.
Then they need to stop.
They need to stop.
Because if they can stop caring about what people think and care more about what their children and those that they're responsible for are saying to them, are demonstrating, are passionate and interested in, then I think we'll have less frustration.
And do you know what I will even say is I think that God created each one of us, and He has put into each of us something specific for that person. So these stirrings and these things that we are trying to kill are things that God has put in them anyway. So do you know what I mean? So it's like, what are we playing? So I think it's our response. I remember somebody saying to me with one of my children, he said to me, this guy has a skill in this thing. You need to nurture it. This was when he was like 5. And I remember, I knew, but I was trying not to nurture it because I'm thinking nurturing it is going to cost me. It was more about me. It's going to be so much wahala, so much trouble to nurture it. So you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to nurture it. But he warned me. He said, if God has put this thing in this boy, it's your responsibility as his mother to make sure that you nurture it. And I think that's what I want to leave people with, that our children, even us, what we have in ourselves, it's not there by accident.
No, it isn't.
So we need to pay attention to it, pay better attention to it. And yes, tradition has its place,
Absolutely.
but maybe not so much in this. And there are bits of tradition that can fall into this, but I think you know what we're saying.
I think the real thing is there is no competition. At the end of the day, nobody really cares what you studied. Everybody's more interested in how effective you can be in what you've decided to do. So
fantastic. Anyway, we're out of time. Okay. So a little bit controversial. Atiti, please go to ayator.com. Do follow us on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, Chez Zasaa, you'll find us there. There's a lot of stuff on there that doesn't come on here. So please do follow us. Follow Atiti too on, what are you on YouTube?
Ayator London.
No, that's Instagram. Ayator London on Instagram. God bless you. And don't forget, keep rocking your own gorgeous. I know, it's Instagram.